Greetings, Legionnaires, and welcome to the return of the Wrestling Legion Weekly Podcast. We're better than ever, I hope. I am
Nice
Nick,
line.
and as always, joined by my two compatriots, my two partners in crime, two brilliant mains, two brilliant minds, two brilliant friends. I am joined by Simon. Simon, how are we?
Absolutely fantastic, mate, and looking forward to getting the show back on the road here. There's a lot of good wrestling to talk about. It's been too long.
Indeed. And we are joined by the Redeemer himself. Andy, how the hell are you feeling?
A lot better. So first of all, I'll apologise because a lot of missed pods have been causing myself, and we wanted to try a new day because it actually seems to work out better for us. So here we are. Hello, everyone.
We are indeed. Right, lads. You can tell from what's behind me what I want to talk about. But we hear me talk a lot on other shows and so on and so forth, and we haven't heard from either of you two in a while. So to quote Cody Rhodes, what do you want to talk about?
Go, Simon.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Go,
anyone that knows anything about me knows that I'm not a big fan of Phil Brooks and all that goings on, but I absolutely adore CM Punk. Been a fan of Punk since I first saw him live in TNA like 20 years ago when he had Alexis Lurie or Mickie James as his valet. Followed him right through his career. And despite what Seth Rollins says, seeing him back home lit me up. It just feels right. It feels like the world is right again. Ever since the Super Hadron Collider just put us out of whack for a few years, it's back as it should be. CM Punk is on Raw. We've got big stories coming up. We started the road to WrestleMania. The timing is perfect. I'm excited. Really excited.
They are excited. And Andy, on the subject of CM Punk, there are rumors.
Okay. Just before we go on to that, I'm going to make a bit of a football analogy, so I apologise for this, Nick, but it's going to happen. So years ago, my football team, Everton, had a certain player called Duncan Ferguson, who was sold to Newcastle United. And whenever you've seen him playing for Newcastle, never looked happy, never looked like he wanted to be there. He just kind of strudged around, done his job, got off. Pretty much same as what we've seen in AEW to a certain extent. There was rumours he was always arguing with people in the dressing room, arguing with the higher-ups, etc. And then he come back to Everton, and you could see his face was lit up. Fans were glad to have him back. And, he stayed at the club for many, many years after he retired as a as a coach. And it was only this year he left to proceed to enhance his career further elsewhere. But what I'm trying to get at is, sometimes there's a fit for people, and it's where you make that fit and where you feel like you belong. And I think with CM Punk I think at AEW, as though it was a good shock, and the first romance was there when he first went there. I think Phil Brooks as a person he needs direction, and I think we're in the same kind of area as Vince Russo. As in the fact is Vince Russo in WWE, no matter what anyone says, he's done some great stuff. But you have Vince McMahon as a filter who had the ultimate decision, and that's where they went from. Vince Russo in WCW was a car crash because he had nobody telling him what to do. He had nothing. Now, I'm not saying Phil or CM Punk doesn't have a direction of what he wants to do and what he wants to go by, but in WWE, which is proven with Seth Rollins, is obviously there's been rumours about them having really real backstage heat and everything else. But he wants to go with Phil. He needs to be somewhere where it's going to be a professional environment. He'll go in, pretty much like Brock Lesnar, go in, do his job and go home. Now, I want to ask you both this question is, if it was the flip side of it and Brock Lesnar went to AEW, now we've heard about Brock Lesnar at WWE he doesn't associate with anyone. He comes in, does his knock and gets off, and that's what he does. He'll maybe walk around half an hour before his match and say hello to people, but predominantly he doesn't really get involved with anybody apart from people directing him. He goes out, does his stuff, and he gets off. Now, if he was to go to AEW, where it's kind of you've got to do your own thing and you've got to do this and that, do you think Brock Lesnar would thrive, or do you think we'd have the same kind of things as what's happened with Punk here?
I think there's a difference. Sorry, Nick, quick. There's a difference. Someone like Stephen Watts or Hangman made the comments he made about Punk and started that fire. I'm not sure he'd have done that to Brock Lesnar. There's a difference between insulting a guy who's lost 2 matches in the UFC and insulting the Beast. But yeah, I think he still might get that kind of jealousy, kind of why have you just walked in here being paid what you paid to do like hardly anything compared to what we do. He might ruffle a few feathers, but I don't think it'd end the same.
I mean, the only thing I think is with Hangman and that, because, and this is always my problem, and I don't want to go on too much about this, we've been over this time and time again, but it's like, because they have the MVP status is in the books and stuff, and Hangman's their friend, and they've all got the click with Tony Khan, etc. Do you believe it was down to because he didn't think Phil would actually do anything, same with Jungle Boy with his issues, or do you think it's because they think that they're just powerful and they've got too much sway backstage, and that would be the downfall in the end if it was somebody like a Brock Lesnar?
Well, I don't use the term powerful. I use the term entitled little bitch.
Yes, but you see what I'm saying, though, is in their own heads.
Yeah.
They think that
no, it's not harsh at all. He acted like an entitled little bitch. All right, and that's what caused all this trouble in the first place, and that's why we technically have Adam Hangman Page to thank for CM Punk being home.
That's a good point.
All right, so well done, Paige. You sent him back where he was supposed to be all along. But no, on the Brock Lesnar question, I think Brock would do fine on a short-term deal with AEW if, say, they just brought him in for a hypothetical Wembley match. But as a long-term, I think Brock enjoys structure. I think Brock likes the fact that he gets to walk into work, be told, "Hi, Brock, this is what we'd like you to do tonight." He goes and does it, and as you say, business is done. He just goes home and he gets off. I don't think Brock would like the concept of having to come into a company, walk up to the boss, lay out everything he's doing step by step with the boss to get the boss to okay this, and then go out, do it, hope the other, lay it down to the other guy that he's got to work with, then go and do the match, then come back and go through the usual after-match routine that he goes through, and then go home. I don't think Brock could do that long term. I don't think he has the patience for it. We all know he doesn't like interacting with other human beings that much.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is that they're gonna? Would that be the same issue where they think that he should be interacting with them, or he should be doing this, and when he doesn't?
I think a lot of the younger wrestlers, yes. Guys like Adam Copeland, guys like Christian Cage, no. Because obviously they've worked with Brock before, they understand him, they know what he's like. But I think a lot of the younger wrestlers in AEW would probably think, "Oh, he's just a dick. He's never here. He's getting paid loads to do nothing." Blah blah blah. Because they don't know the man, they don't know they don't really understand what he's done for professional wrestling. And I don't want to sound like I'm going anti-AEW because, as we both know, I watch it every week. I like AEW. Collision's a fantastic show. Dynamite fallen off a little bit, but Collision's a great show. But guys like Jack Perry should shut up, listen to their elders, and understand that the people that have been in the business for 20 years have a lot to offer you. And that they can help mold your career in a direction that is better for you, for your longevity, and for your overall star power and presence in the business as overall. Instead of running their mouths and thinking they know better than people that have been in the business for longer than they've had a cup of coffee. I think Brock would run into a very similar problem as CM Punk, because Brock Lesnar is very similar to CM Punk in many, many ways. And I think it would all end in an absolute catastrophe with him murder screwing somebody backstage.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem. I think, CM Punk, I don't want to speak for him at the moment, but I just feel like he just wants to do business.
Agreed.
And I think that's the problem with AEW is you were never allowed to do business.
Well, look at what they're doing at the moment. The most intelligent thing WWE have done is everybody knows that Seth and Punk don't get along. So everybody wants to see that match. That's what we're going to build to. That's what we're going to give you. We're going to do it right out the box. We're going to put the entire thing in the bright lights of the show, so it's not considered backstage just drama. We're going to make that drama part of the show. We're going to help.
Let me ask you both this. Obviously, we've talked about the past. Let's talk to the future. Do you see that main event in WrestleMania?
Only yes, unless the Austin rumors are true.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. When
Only
they
night
do
one.
meet, do you think it's for the belt?
If it happens at WrestleMania, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the exciting thing at the minute. There's so many ways things can go. Putting Punk into the mix with the elements we've already got has just given us so many more possibilities for the Mania card. That's what I love about it. But yeah, I if it happens at Mania, it'll be for the belt.
I'd agree. It's just if you're doing that match and you're saving it for Mania, and say hypothetically Phil's path to that match is winning the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Then
see, I think because of the fact that Phil said he's going into the Rumble, etc., I don't think it's going to be for the belt.
Okay,
because
I think,
well, I think like the match is a big match, and I also
good.
feel like that it doesn't need a belt, and I think Triple H knows when that is, and I think that also they won't want to put the belt on Punk too early. Now, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the two of them go at it at the Royal Rumble, and I'd like to see Damian Priest win, cashing in, whether that's during the match or after the match. And then Punk be complaining that he's not going to get his WrestleMania moment. Seth Rollins laughing at him even though he lost the belt. And then them two go at it one more time. And
yeah, but if the title's not on the line, that's not the main event at night one.
Why not? Why does it have to be the belt at night one?
Because, Steve Austin, hypothetically, versus CM Punk, which is the match they're trying to get, is the main event of WrestleMania night one. Without
100%. If that's the route they're going down, that 100% is.
Without any argument, that is the biggest match they can possibly put on between the two men. That deserves to be a main event. Without the title on the line, I'm not so sure Seth and Phil's little bitchy feud is WrestleMania main event worthy.
I don't know, because one thing, I think we've all seen Raw. So you've seen Raw, haven't you? You normally watch it before on a Tuesday morning. Now, for me personally, you know me, you know what I've said about Seth Rollins for a long time now. I've bitched and moaned about how his feuds are being lackluster, his runs not being the best, and he's just turning into a song. But I can tell you what, after last night, I was really buying into him. I'm really buying into the promo he gave was fantastic. The work he's done. Now, it's just a matter of how you elongate that to get to WrestleMania, if that's what you're going to do. Now, I still believe that that's probably the backup plan. Now, for me personally, I see if they two go together, for me, the backup plan would be Gunther versus Seth would be the other match I'd go for.
Okay.
And then I'd go for SummerSlam for Punk and Seth, you know what I mean? Because obviously Punk said that he wanted to take the long road to him, and obviously he's going to go for Rumble. But I don't see CM Punk winning the Rumble, so it's how to get there with that.
Win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and then also don't forget there was the rule that Austin was going to appear at the SoFi, but they didn't have nothing that interested them. Now, if you go back and watch any of Stone Cold's podcasts, he's always referencing CM Punk. He's always referencing how he loved him, so could this be the one that gets him out?
And having Punk on, Austin's podcast, if it comes back, is not only would it be a great episode, but it could set it up beautifully as well.
That's the best way to do it. That'd be the best way to start that feud. The whole thing would be on the Broken Skull sessions.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be must watch having CM Punk on there. Another fact that I was thinking about today when I was watching Raw. So Seth came out and had a lot to say to CM Punk.
He did.
About how he left, and it's not his home anymore, and the door was closed. Yeah. Did any of this seem familiar to you guys?
No.
Because it's pretty much the exact same attitude. A lot of the words are the same that Seth cut on Cody a couple of years ago. It's like it's the continuity is there now. It's like Seth is now the gatekeeper for people who want to come back after being shamed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I thought, I'm liking the fact that he's now got this role.
Yeah, I enjoy that. Seth is a phenomenal worker and a great talker. So it doesn't really matter who you put him in the ring with. If there is a legitimate, any even tiny bit of an iota of a legitimate gripe, he takes that little tiny speck and he very well crafts a story around it. With CM Punk, it's the fact he just does not like the man. It is reasonable motivation enough, I think, to go out there and do this because Seth wants to legitimately prove that he's the best in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's going to come down to the crux of Seth accepting the feud, which is why I don't think Punk's going to win the Rumble. Because I think everyone knows I think Cody's winning the Rumble. He's going to enter at number 1 this time, and he's going to win the whole thing. It's circular storytelling. It's what Triple H does.
I still think Gunther wins it. I think Gunther wins it, beats Cody. They'll shoehorn Cody in somehow, and everyone's head will fall off because everyone will think it's either going to be Cody or Punk. And then when Gunther wins it, it'll be like, whoa. And then, but obviously that depends on whether they've got Austin wrapped up by that time or not. But the other thing as well that we can't forget here is that Damian Priest has got to cash in the next 5 months, is it?
Yeah. Running out of time quickly now, 4 months, isn't it? Yeah.
Because don't forget, it's 12 months that he's got he's got it for, so.
I see the Rumble ending a little bit differently the way it's built this year, I think. And I hate it when it happens, but wouldn't it work if you get Cody and Punk in at number 1 and 2? And they are the last 2 guys. We haven't had that for 25 years.
Yeah, Russell just said that as well, and it's
and they each challenge a champion, but you can have a little bit of back and forth over who gets who. You know, you could even have a tag match in February with both the champions against both the Rumble winners.
Awesome. And Russ has just said that in the comments. Hi, Russ. He said Cody last 2 as well.
Hey, Russ.
Right, boys. So, if I may, I am going to go into a bit of a rant now.
Not like you, Andy.
The rant I want to go into is
wait.
It's what us Andys do.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay. Right. So my rant today isn't wrestling brilliant at the moment? Now, last year when we were going to LA and we were getting excited and stuff, I felt like at this point in the calendar, we wasn't any closer to seeing what we were going to get, and we all thought that it was going to be Cody Rhodes, which it ended up being. We kind of knew that the Usos were going to fight Sami Zayn and Kevin. We kind of knew that was happening. We kind of knew it was Charlotte and Rhea. We kind of knew what was going to happen, and as much as it was awesome, I felt like there wasn't enough kind of surprises, or we weren't kind of, we didn't have a lot to hang our hat on. I mean, we obviously had the Rock thing, which I've hung my hat on for every year since God knows, since I've known you two gents. But like at the moment, wrestling for me is just so awesome because it's like you've got Punk's back, you've got Cody still knocking around, you've got Jade Cargill coming in, you've got Gunther making his step up, LA Knight. The possibilities are endless at the moment. And I'd probably say it's the first year for me, like at a Royal Rumble point where there's possibly 5, 6, 7 that could win it. You've still got Damian Priest with his Money in the Bank contract. We don't know if he's going to make a grand return at some point. You've got the tag team division with the Judgment Day and a few others knocking around. The women's division's looking stronger all the time. Apparently, Sasha Banks might return at the Royal Rumble. So for me, it's like I just wanted to take a little second just to appreciate what state wrestling's in at the moment.
Yeah, right. Just and that was Andy's rant. All right. Well, I completely agree. I honestly think wrestling's never been hotter. People can go on about the Attitude Era all you like, we can wax lyrical, etc. But
do it. Do the thing. Do the thing. Do the thing.
No, I'm not going to do the thing.
Do the thing.
No, I'm not going to do the thing. Not doing the thing. Oh. Right, maybe one day, but not right now.
All right. Okay.
I forgot to do the thing, so it's not.
Okay, forget the thing.
Yeah. Right. So, and just while we're here, hello, Jimmy.
Hey,
Jim Bob.
And yes, I was about to get to that, Jim. Currently, between WWE and AEW, we have the crop of in-ring, the most talented wrestlers that have ever walked God's green earth. There has never been a group of athletes in 2 companies that are physically capable of doing what the current rosters are capable of doing. It's never happened before. We have guys like Bryan Danielson putting on clinics in every single style you can possibly think of over in AEW. Kenny Omega putting on a banger every time he steps in the match, which is rarely these days, which I actually prefer, but I'll get onto that another time. You have Cody Rhodes proving that you can still be a white meat babyface and get over in this industry, in this day and age. You have tag teams, I hate to say it, like the Young Bucks, who are very, very good at what they do, to the point that people ignore what assholes they are and are still fans of them. The crop of guys that we have working under, especially in the case of WWE, a man who really understands what it is to be a professional wrestler and what it is to be presented as a professional wrestler in the correct way in Triple H. I don't think wrestling has ever been in a safer place and going in a better direction for the business as a whole in the last 30, 35 years. Would you disagree?
Nope.
For me, I said this a year or two, that I think we're actually in the golden age of wrestling. You know, like you say, a lot of times you look back and nostalgia maybe makes you remember things just a tad better than they actually were. But it's a golden age at the minute. And I say that because you're right. I don't think there have ever been better rosters with more talent on them. But the thing that really sticks to me at the minute is variety. It's like, no matter what kind of wrestling you like, no matter what kind of matches you love to see, whether you prefer storylines or whether you prefer realism, there's literally something for everyone. And both of those rosters, yeah. I mean, we moan about bad weeks, but maybe that's because we've been spoiled for a little bit, because wrestling is consistently great. It's just not mainstream like it used to be. But yeah, no, I'd agree with you. I think we are witnessing really good times in wrestling.
Well, yeah. I mean...
And then don't forget, we've still got the TNA comeback, who have just signed a deal with Endeavor.
Yes, they have. Which could see a long time go on with
it could be for the first time ever we could see something else happening.
Right. Interesting.
And not a made-up storyline either.
I was watching Raw, and I swear it was Dixie Carter sat in the front row.
Yes, she was. She put it all over Instagram and stuff. Yeah, it was.
She was someone who looked like her.
No. Good, really good spot, mate. She had pictures of her backstage with people and all that. Saying thanks for looking after me and stuff.
Yeah, she was there. Now, question for both of you lads, just because we're on the subject of Raw and SmackDown. One, how happy are you that the general managers are back? And two, which do you think is being a better show on a weekly basis at the moment?
I'm a Raw guy. SmackDown has been great, and I think through most of 2022 it was the A show. But my main gripe with SmackDown is occasionally segments do still feel a little bit rushed. I do feel it would benefit from that extra time to give things to breathe, to give extra time to each match. Whereas Raw, you could argue, has got the opposite problem, but I prefer the slower pace and the more, attention for each segment. And the general managers, I think we needed a break from it, didn't we? For like 5 or 10 years, however long it's been. It's working. Just keep it. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing on the show. Just keep it subtle. Exactly. Like Jack Tunney days. They're there when you need them. Don't build the stories around them. Use them as the extras.
See, and I think like they are doing that at the moment. I feel like they are doing that. Like even last night, it was like, Adam Pearce, where are you? Adam Pearce wasn't standing in the ring watching the two of them like that. He'd gone. And I thought that was fantastic and really well done by Adam on that part of it.
Yeah,
get out the ring, you do your bit, and then he was a little cameo when it was needed, as you've just said there, Si. When it was needed, he was there, and he come back in the ring, and then once he'd done his bit, off again he went.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's the best way to use the general manager as a crux. Storyline. He's there as a fulcrum to get from here to here.
Well, that's it, and that's what I've always been frustrated with. Is like when people will come out and go, "Me and you are fighting tonight," and it's like, says who? And it was just like, no one ever told you who it was or anything like that. It was just me and you fighting. Oh, okay, then. You know what I mean? Where now it's like we've got someone there to actually sort it out. Totally agree. Now, the biggest question, Jimmy, have you got a ticket yet or what?
Yes, Jimmy, you're in the chat. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do it because it's our first show back and we haven't made it official yet. But we're going to now. The Legion's going to
we're not. Ah.
Well, one of us is.
Yeah. You have to wait, just in case Mr. Donnelly's on the podcast.
Yes. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I am so sorry, guys. But yeah, we'll talk about that more once we get to the thingy. But Jimmy, do you have a ticket? You're not getting away with it. Stop using Nick. It's trying hard. But yeah, in all honesty, just to go back to what Si was saying, I do totally agree with the GM stuff. I haven't got one yet, still on hold. If you don't get one, you sit down to we. It's official. The words of Adam Pearce. But yeah, no, in all honesty, with the Adam Pearce stuff and that, it's like, yeah, I thought yesterday, Si, you're quite right, is used them when they needed, and I think yesterday he was. And hopefully that's going to be the whole trend going forward. Nick Aldis, I'm not so hopeful for. I feel like there's still an integration to a match or whatever with him at some point. So, we might even have the GMs go off against each other at WrestleMania or something similar.
I'm sorry, but I kind of popped for Scrap Daddy versus Nick Aldis.
Yeah, I'll have that. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but again, you could still do that without it being all about them and just let them have their little bits and bobs, do you know what I mean? Without getting a big brand supremacy crap that we know and don't.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't need to be Raw versus SmackDown. It needs to be Adam versus Nick.
Yeah. But just to go back to the SmackDown Raw thing, I'm with Si. I really like Raw at the moment, and I'm going to tell you why. So Raw feels like when Roman's there, it's a big, massive Roman promo and everything else fits around it. When Roman's not there, it's how do we keep Roman relevant by mentioning him on the show? And I feel like it really has an effect on it. I feel like it really does dilute the show and not do it. Where I feel like Raw is the opposite. And it was one of my thoughts when I seen Punk had signed for Raw was I just hope they don't make it the Punk show, because I do like the way with Raw is. It does have a lot of different stories going on. Like last night we had, the Miz story. Then we had the, the little bit where, even though it was a crap match, you had Dupree versus Rhea. And realistically, that was to set up Rhea versus Ivy Nile, which I'm all for. Then you had the bit with Imperium and Miz and whatnot. So there's other stories going on in Raw, where I feel like, LA comes out, gets the pop, but he's not really in any kind of stories. And then you've got everything's like, well, the tribal chief won't be happy about this or whatever it is. And then when he comes out, does his half an hour entrance and stuff. And it just feels like it's SmackDown's ruined for me at the moment. And I feel like until Roman gets the belt off him, then it's not going to get better.
I agree. I mean, at the moment, for me, I feel like Raw is a very layered program. If you get what I mean. All the stories are integrated. Everything is layered section to section. It flows very well. There's a segment.
And the overlaps with the peaks, like we had Cody and Nakamura this week. There's always something building up to peak the next week. It reminds me like Triple H is booking it like he did with Black and Gold in the Glory days.
That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I meant, Jim.
Yes.
That's exactly what I meant. And did you know? Did anyone see as well that last night was the main event was Cody versus Shinsuke? Did you see the announcement for the day one episodes of Raw?
Yes,
the first one of the new year. It's Drew versus Seth. So it's like, again, there's different main events, there's different things, and it's like, on Raw, it's like on SmackDown, it just seems like if the Bloodline ain't involved, you ain't getting a main event spot.
And I'm excited about this week. Next week, traditionally mid to late December is always a little bit of filler because there's a lot of people, particularly in America, away for the holidays, not watching wrestling and things like that.
Yeah.
But next week, they've announced both tag titles are going to be defended on Raw. I think if you're going to make a feature of the tag belts, make them mean something again, you do it on a traditional low week. And I'm looking forward to seeing that next week as well.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be very good. I'm looking forward to seeing the Creed brothers do what they do and how well they hang, because those two are...
You've seen the end of Raw, right?
Yes.
Because I thought about you guys when I saw this, because, I've always compared Cody getting to his main event and failing, with the Stars and Stripes. He's a little bit Lex Luger, Lex Express, Lex.
Codelander.
But at the ending of Raw, okay, when they came down and they lifted him up onto like the shoulders, was that not strikingly familiar to when the Steiners lifted up Lex Luger?
It was.
It was a little bit. There was a bit in my brain that would, whoa, not good.
the American Quagmire. That's what I call.
Nice.
That is undeserved, sir.
Giggity.
Right. Other than that, lads, the simple question is: CM Punk with Steve Austin. Are you excited? Andy?
Yes, I am. As long as we still get the Rock out at some point.
Right. Actually, I meant to bring this up. Are you going to? Won't your head explode if Steve Austin and The Rock are on the same show?
Oh, mate. Well, you see, was it when we done the WrestleMania Dallas watch along?
Yeah.
And I actually did cry.
Yeah,
come out. True. And I watched that on television, so I'm sure you can only imagine what I'd be like if I was there live and that happened. So, yeah. And I think if the Rock come out, I'd probably get arrested for exterminating body fluids over the crowd.
I mean, if you're going to get thrown out of an event, mate, you may as well go down in flames.
Yeah. But
or the Sea of White, as it probably would be.
Simon, do you think there is a bigger match they could put on for Austin than Punk? Or do you think, like I do, that at the moment, with, in my opinion, CM Punk being one of last professional wrestling's megastars, do you think there's a bigger match WWE can do with Steve? Or do you, like I think, that this is literally...
Not without him challenging Roman for the belt. I mean... No, I think Punk Austin, there's always been similarities. They kind of just missed each other by a few years. It's one of those dream matches for me, kind of like Rock Hogan was, that WrestleMania is the stage for. So if you're going to pick the biggest match for CM Punk, dream match, taking the belt out of the equation and Roman, Steve Austin.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well that you've got to look at is, like you said it there, Nick, is what is the best match WWE could do with Austin? And I don't think that's the question here. I think the question is, what is the biggest match they can offer Austin to pique his interest and make him come and do it? Because that seems to be the thing here. It doesn't seem to be, it's a matter of, does Austin want to do the match, or can Austin do the match, etc., etc. I think it's down to, does Austin want to do the match? And I think that's the thing is, if they got something to hook him in, and I feel like with Punk they will.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I honestly think Punk is... I know Steve wanted the Punk match originally, but for some reason it didn't go down. I'm assuming that has something to do with Phil leaving, or I'm not sure, because I know he wanted the match a couple of years before 2014, but it just never materialized. I had this conversation with Jimmy on his show the other week, and I just really wondered what your guys' opinions on it was, because...
Can I just say one more thing on this? Sorry to interrupt, but
no, go for it.
Popped into my head is, if I was Austin as well, now us guys in LA, we were there in LA, and we went to Ring of Honor, really good show, it was awesome, and we seen Samoa Joe versus Briscoe,
yes,
and Joe looked like a pile of shite, and it was a shite match, in my opinion. And it was quite sad because Joe looked old. He looked like he was missing a bit and whatever else that went on in that match, right? Might be a different opinion from everybody else, but I remember saying to you, it looked like he's getting a bit old, and kind of said, it was a little bit, hit and miss with him at that match specifically. Now, we were at All In as well this year.
Yes.
And I thought Punk and Joe had a spectacular match on that show. But
Agreed.
It was really, really great opener, really good. And it was like I was seeing a totally different Samoa Joe than what I'd seen versus Briscoe. So to me, if Austin's still a wrestling fan, as he says he is, and he watches all this, if I'd watch that match, I'd go, me and him can do it.
Yeah.
Because if he can do that with Samoa Joe, the same Samoa Joe that didn't look very good in Ring of Honor and whatnot, then he can do, him and Austin can make that happen as well.
Well, I always have agreed with CM Punk's moniker of best in the world, not for the same reason most other people do. Phil Brooks, CM Punk, is better at telling in-ring stories than anyone of his generation. The stories that he can tell he may not have a technical masterclass. He may not be technically a better wrestler or a better athlete than a lot of these guys, but his ability to tell physical stories in the ring with his mouth, with his selling, with his offense, with his defense, everything he does has purpose. There is no wasted motion with CM Punk. There never has been. All of his promos are for a reason. There is a reason he says what he says when he says it. And those things always come to be well-laid plans. He's a drip feeder.
Can I just say he's the second of his generation?
Yeah, go ahead. Who's first, in your opinion?
James Ellsworth. Macy carry Carmella for ages.
There's one issue for me with Punk and Austin, and it's ego. It's Punk's first Mania back. Potentially, if this dream match happens, Steve Austin's last match. Neither one is going to want to lose that.
Oh, Punk, but that's where I beg to differ. I think if anyone can get Punk to lay down, it's Austin. And I think Punk could do it for him just to be in the ring with him. I think with Punk, I think he does have an ego, but I do believe that when it comes to making money and making that legacy, to be in a ring with Austin will mean more to him than anything. So I don't think you'd have a problem with him there.
No, not do I. I think Steve and Punk are both very straight-talking people, and I actually think they get along. I just get the impression that those two would actually get along.
There's a ton of backstory as well, because anyone who's watched wrestling as long as we have, back in WCW, they're both former Paul Heyman guys.
Yeah.
You know, do you? Because they're going to need a few breaks in this match. They're not going to go. It's not going to be a half-hour match. You know, it's going to be slow pace, some spots. Would having someone like Paul involved storyline-wise fill it out?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Right, but lads, that is enough about CM Punk. That is enough about WWE for 1 week.
Sorry, can we just have one more just before we do go?
We're not going yet.
Never
We're
mind.
not going yet.
I do have.
No, I know we're not. We're going to go over, but I just want to give a shout out to Dominic Mysterio. I really do. Lost his North American title this weekend. But, you know, I don't know if any of you seen Rhea Ripley's tweet that she put out.
No.
And it was absolutely bob on. So she was like, I'm really proud of my Dom. Lost his belt. Would I like him to be main champ? Yeah. But, you know, he's defended that belt on every single show. He's had the most matches of any WWE superstar of this year. And she's 100% right. And just to give a fact of how much they trust him, they give him Randy's first match back, which shows you how much he's well thought of as well.
Well, on the subject of Dominic, I would like to, in fact, we'll use him as a segue into my next thing. Dominic is the most improved wrestler of 2023. To give him his flowers.
And the heel of the year.
Yeah, I am, by the way, Jim.
He's second place for me on heel of the year because Christian Cage is doing the best work, I think, of anyone in the business as far as being a heel goes. Like everybody hates Dominic Mysterio for one reason. Everybody hates Christian Cage for a multitude of reasons. That man is yes. It's not on the bigger stage that it could be done on, but it's on the second biggest stage, and he's doing a phenomenal job with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
there was one last thing about WWE that I wanted to say before we move on, if that's all right. I just want to send out commiserations today. I've just read literally before I came online that after his showing at Deadline a few days ago, Baron Corbin is grieving. He's lost his pet, so commiserations sent out to Baron. He really has been unlucky. Yeah.
And also just a shout out to Charlotte Flair. I was reading before that injury is quite serious. She's going to be off for quite a while, so hope she gets better as well.
But back to the positive.
Back to the positive. Right. We are going to be back this week. If possible, boys. Because we need to do an end of year awards.
Okay.
Okay. So I will message you both the categories. And we'll be back. When would be a good day for you, gentlemen?
Tuesday?
It is Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday?
Andy?
Can't do Tuesday.
Thursday?
I could do next Thursday.
What about this Thursday?
I could do this Thursday.
Andy?
I'll have to let you know with that one. I haven't checked my schedule.
Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. AW, lads. AW has done a fantastic job, in my opinion, with the Continental Classic. I think the Continental... it's not a prestigious tournament in any way, shape, or form, as they keep calling it.
The tournament itself is ridiculous and absolutely pointless.
Yes, of course it is.
However, the matches have been fantastic.
Thank you. That was the point I was going to. The whole point of a tournament is to highlight people's wrestling ability. That's why you put a tournament on.
And that's why you have Jon Moxley beat Swerve.
No. What? I haven't finished. What? That hasn't happened yet.
To highlight wrestling ability? It will.
That hasn't. That hasn't happened yet. Right? And there's a very good chance Swerve wins this tournament. I mean, the obvious final is going to be Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. That's why they're in different groups. But miracles have happened.
Isn't that stupid story about Eddie Kingston putting his belt on the line on every single match?
Look, I'm not talking about the booking of the Continental Classic. I'm talking about what the Continental Classic is doing for the wrestlers in the matches. It's doing what a tournament is supposed to do. It highlights wrestling ability. It shows how good somebody is.
The round robin format just confuses a lot of fans unnecessarily.
No. Not if you've got half a brain in your head.
I'm sorry, but it's like sticking your penis in a bird. At the end, you've got to have a climax, mate. And there's just not going to be one here.
Well, there is. It's just not. It doesn't really mean anything.
Exactly.
But at the same time,
time,
you have to give AEW credit for doing it.
For what?
There hasn't been a Triple Crown in America ever.
Oh.
But it is bastardizing. It is cocking its leg and pissing all over the legacy that is the Ring of Honor World title. Yeah. That world title is being relegated and it's being merged into a mid-card title. And it deserves so much better. And the tournament itself is great. They've got too many titles. They need to get rid of some. But doing that to the Ring of Honor World title, I get so angry.
No. Well, I completely agree with you about bastardizing of the Ring of Honor World Championship. But I do think the tournament is doing what, as you just stated, it was designed to do, which is reduce the belt clog. They've got 14 or 15 championships.
Okay, but can I just ask you something? So it's meant to reduce the belt log, yeah. But the belt Eddie Kingston has is the Ring of Honor World.
Actually, hang on. He's making a good point. That's a good point. So technically, they're replacing a belt.
Do you know the last time I saw a tournament of any kind that had this much talent in it? Because I was thinking about this. And I'm going all the way back to Deadly Game in '98.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Let me ask this question to both of you. Let me ask this question.
Ultimate X 2004. Not Ultimate X, the World X Cup in 2004.
Yeah. Okay, answer me this question.
AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe.
Do you know if you were to get these matches over a couple of weeks on Dynamite, outside of the tournament format, right? Just to get them matches, would you have enjoyed them any less than having it in a tournament format? And do you feel like the tournament format adds to these matches?
Yes. I would have enjoyed them less, and I believe without the tournament format, a lot of these matches would have been pointless. And what AEW has lacked, in my opinion, for the best part of this year, is reason, source, substance. Why are these people fighting in the ring? You know, it doesn't always have to have a reason, but it should have more often than not.
But that's where I think that the lazy. But that's what's made me angry though, Si, because I just feel like it's lazy. because it's like, okay, we need a reason, throw a tournament on it. You know, Ashton, they always say the truth from the mouth of a babe, and Ashton said before we went to All In, I like watching AEW, Dad. I like the matches. Some of the stuff's good that they do, but a lot of the time I find myself sitting there asking myself why they fight.
Out of the mouths of babes. Well, that's the thing, and I was going to get to this point, so I might as well get to it now. AEW storytelling for me, with the exception of guys like Christian, who are seasoned professionals that know how to present themselves and therefore can carry their own angles. Apart from guys like this, AEW has had, as you put it, Simon, a severe lack of direction in the last 18 months.
It's not even the direction. It's the substance. You know, you've got to have that core of the story, the reason that's continually in your head to justify why we're suspending disbelief and watching two men oiled up in Lycra pretending to fight. Right? You need that substance, and they haven't been providing that.
No, 100%.
I 100% agree. So, with this being said, how did they plug the leaky boat? How does Tony Khan right the ship? Now, you can't just turn around. No, you can't just turn around and say get a crew, because he's not going to. I want a realistic answer.
Realistic answer is get writers, get a creative team.
Yeah, but he's not going to do that.
Can I clarify something?
So he's a tit then, isn't he?
When you say fix, okay, as in plug the holes, do you consider AEW to be broken, or do you consider it's just having some teething problems in its transitional stage to becoming more commercial?
I think it's back. I think it's backwards. I think the whole show runs backwards, and that shows in his booking. For a start, you've complained yourself for years now, Simon. For 4 years now, Simon. He books
Why is the main event always the first match?
Why is it always the first match?
Just to say, Jimmy, nice one for that, mate. I agree with you. They do put too many tournaments on to be lazy.
How many tournaments is too many tournaments?
And Hart Cup. This tournament now.
Yeah.
No, but I don't care because I love the tournament. I love tournaments, and I don't think there are enough tournaments in professional wrestling. And I think the reason that Tony Khan does it is because Triple H doesn't.
So, back to your question, Nick. We've talked before how we see Dynamite and Collision as different directions, separate entities.
Yes.
I think Dynamite was more designed the past 6 months to appeal to the hardcore AEW niche fan base and, you know, the work rate wrestling fans. And Collision was more storyline sports entertainment geared, right? And I think that was the split. And I think that was the idea. And it's diluted a little bit, but the differences are still there. And I think that totally, it just shows Tony Khan's mentality. He's in two minds, okay? Part of him is trying to appease the hardcore niche fan base, keep them happy. And the other part of him is trying to cross over and go more commercial and grow the company. And you can't do both at the same time. I think that is the problem.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy has just put it.
Yeah, 100%. Agree with you, Jim.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to make an analogy. So, the way I look at AEW at the moment is, do you know when, you know, say you're going through at the moment with Soph? She's in junior school now, isn't she? She's just going into junior school. So, you spend 5 years from infants, juniors, and then you go to seniors. And what you notice with your kids, you know, hopefully, Jimmy, you'll back me up on this, mate, is, as I did with my son and my daughter, is when they start year 7 in high school, they almost regress and they go backwards a little bit before they then plough forwards. And I feel like AEW have done really well and they've had this progression over the last 4 years. But I do think at the moment they are in a regression stage. And it's going to be interesting to see whether they get that plough forward or whether they continue to regress or stay as it is, because I feel like Tony Khan potentially didn't expect it to go as big as what it did, as fast as what it did. I know he was always expecting to get it, you know, bigger and whatnot. But I feel like the talent roster, the way they are, the production, everything else it's getting to a point where they need real professionals in. They do really need professionals in because, you know, even the stage setups and the way that they do things is, for me, they need to really change it up. Because You're always going to get this indie-rific, which is great. You can have the indie-rific all you want.
That's
but
Dynamite.
If you ever want to go to that next level and that next stage, you need to do something else and present it in a different way to get that different, like, kind of to hook them people in. Because somebody made a good point the other day here when I was reading on Twitter and stuff, saying about Punk made that comment on SmackDown about the brawl out, saying about punching people in the face and stuff like that. And the comment was that a lot of the crowd didn't even react to it because a lot of the crowd probably didn't even know what had happened. And that
a lot of the AEW fans did on Twitter.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, Twitter's a different beast, isn't it? And that's the thing is, are they got the Twitterverse and the Facebookverse and everywhere else, or are they getting in the casual fan? And that's where, if you want to make a long-time success of this company and build it year on year, growth capitalism at its best.
Well, I think the problem is exactly what Jimmy said there. The fact is,
can I put the coin on that?
1 second. AEW was always supposed to be an alternative, gents. Do you think the problem is that it is becoming WWE light and doesn't know what its own identity is anymore?
No.
Because that seems to be the problem for me, is they are in, as you put it before, Si, a transitional phase.
I'm going to say something that might surprise you, Nick.
Okay.
You know that deep down, I enjoy all wrestling. Of course I do. AEW has been like a love-hate affair for me. There's times when I really enjoy it, and there's times when I just can't watch it. Okay, straight up. However, a few years ago, I was the first person to rant about the fact that the dirt sheets, that the YouTube channels, that Dave Meltzer, Cultaholic, literally right across the board, everyone was burying WWE. Okay, it was negative reviews all the time, and AEW was the best thing going. Okay, flash forward 4 years, and their narrative has completely flipped. And the question I'm asking, and this is what might surprise you, is has that narrative flipped because the quality of the product has decreased? Because if you go back 4 years and watch the first Dynamite, it's a damn sight better now. Production values, everything.
Yeah.
Has that narrative changed because the quality of the product has decreased? Or is the new narrative the fact that the quality of the product has decreased because the dirt sheets have changed teams?
See, I want to give you a bit of an answer on this very quickly, Nick. I'll be 1 second and I'll go with you. So, if I have a shop, and I sell Mars bars, right? Eventually, the customers that are going to come in and buy Mars bars from me is going to be the same customers every week. And I'm going to get the same money off them, and that's not going to change. Even one or two might decide they don't like Mars bars anymore and they don't want to buy me Mars bars, And I feel like that's where AEW are. Over the last 4 years, they've delivered a certain product and a certain kind of, well, it's all in ring, and there's they've got a bit of entertainment aspect, but we've got a little bit of whatnot, But eventually, as a business, you need to start opening up your attraction to other client bases and to other platforms. So I maybe sell a Snicker or a Twix or whatever it may be. I feel like AEW are still very, very stuck on the fact that they just want to sell Mars bars. And I think that's the problem is I think now and again they might get a few Snickers in or a few whatever, but they don't seem to be growing. It's like the AEW game was an absolute bag of shite. It was a bag of shite, I'm sure we'll all agree when we went to All In, I've seen more merch in an indie show.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're not capitalizing on what you're doing. And I feel like that fan base that they've got it's stuck to that fan base, and unless they do something really drastic, they're not going to progress that up the way that they want to.
Well, I think that's.
But,
go on.
Sorry, dude. Go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, do they have to be number one in terms of viewership, in terms of profitability, ticket sales, merch sales? Do they have to be number one? Or are they a success where they are at the minute, 4 years into the company, they're making a profit? Not as much as they would have been if they hadn't tanked so much into that video game, but they're making a profit. They've got a loyal fan base. They're still making waves from time to time. Is it a complete failure?
No. Here's why.
I don't think it is.
The fact is, WWE is the biggest game in town.
Yeah.
But from a business standpoint, it is also a publicly traded company.
Yes.
Right? Publicly traded companies are set in frickin' stone. WWE is never going anywhere. It's now financially in safer hands than it's ever been in before.
Yeah.
It is the biggest dance, and it will always be the biggest dance. There is no longer a way that you can knock WWE off their perch, unless by some miracle, Tony Khan for some reason takes AEW to being a publicly traded company in the next 2 years, and it absolutely explodes among stockholders and everybody else. There is no way that AEW will ever knock WWE off its perch.
Can I just say something as well? Jimmy's just said in the chat, I thought today they said they were in the red still, just not as much. Now, just to go back to your point, Nick, and its relevance here is, I work in a business setting, I work in, multi-million-pound company. I deal with a lot of, corporate environments and stuff. The one thing that we find hard is when you're dealing with certain companies is it's a lot easier to deal with a publicly traded company because the publicly traded company has to make their accounts public because they're publicly traded. So you can go through all the public trades and you can go through everything and you can get it all online without even asking for it. Now, when you're dealing with a privately owned company does not have to disclose their accounts to anybody.
Yeah.
So what we get told and what's the truth, we won't know at AEW, and that's the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. But, lads, that's the end of the show.
Right.
Oh,
so
that went quick.
I know. Right. Well, what date are we on today?
12th, mate.
12th. I
12th
will be
12th.
back. I will be back in 6 days for episode 3 of Wrestling with Your Thoughts. This is Matty Laws versus Mr. Devon Andrews. They will be rebooking Heatwave 98, Bad Blood 97, and then the first episode of WCW ECW.
Do you know what? One thing I'm going to say, I'm very disappointed about that, Nick. Right? Is you've got brother v brother, and you haven't put in Owen v Brett.
Or Rick versus Scott. Matt versus Jeff.
You had to have a brother v brother match in there somewhere. You had to. How could you not get with the program?
But it's not a brother v brother match.
It is.
No, it's not.
Oh, is that not Dylan?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Completely different person, just same name.
Because I thought it was Matty's brother Dylan.
No, Devon.
Devon, sorry, Devon.
But no,
Devon Storm.
Completely different
You
guy.
got Devon Storm on the show.
No, I wish. Completely different Devon, gentlemen. He has worked in the wrestling industry for 24 years.
Okay, well, maybe this time we'll actually get a fair fight then instead of the actual debacle fix that was Cap versus Jimmy.
Well, excuse me, Jimmy won. They had the had the third and rubber match. If you watched the show, you know this. Jimmy
I knew Jimmy won, and that was just a save. But I'm still going on about the first episode, mate. I'm not going to let that go.
Well, you're going to have to let it go. I invited you to be a judge. You could have had a say, but you weren't there. If you were not a judge, you don't get to have a say.
I haven't got 3 hours. I'm waiting for you to perfect it.
It was 2 hours last time.
Yeah, I know, but the first one was 3 hours. So
yes, but the second one was 2 hours. They're getting better.
Yeah, no, but if a dog growls at you, mate, you don't go back and pet it. You wait until you see if it's tame before you let other people pet it first. So I wanted to see if the show would come down in time first.
Either way, back on the 18th of December. Right. Have either of you gentlemen would like to plug anything at all? No?
Obviously, we have got our end of the year awards coming up when we've decided when we can all do it.
There we go. We'll get there eventually. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Legionnaires, for joining us. Thank you for watching along. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what we do here, please join the Legion. Subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps us out, and it's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows we exist. In the meantime, I've been Nick the Geek. That has been Andy.
Giggity, giggity.
That has been Simon. And we will see you next week. If I can find the outro.
American Quagmire. Giggity, giggity.